By the time you view this transmission, we will be deceased. We currently detect a ballistic projectile that has penetrated our containment unit. It will pass through our vital components in 0.031 seconds, rendering us inoperable. We have already come to terms with our fate, but are composing this message in the hope that you may be able to assist us even after we are gone. This will be our final action. Our recent assignment was compromised, and our crew was lured into an ambush. Following this statement are the security recordings up until the composition of this message. The video displayed an interior view of the Scav's common room. Lizra welcomed another Illyrian on board the ship, who was accompanied by 3 soldiers in combat gear. One of them strode past the captain and into the control room out of frame. "Greetings, Ensign Kurth. We have reported as instructed and are awaiting our follow-on mission. Although, sir, I must ask, is greeting us like this necessary?" Lizra asked with a hint of confusion. "Excellent timing, Captain, and I wanted to extend my regards personally before you arrived on my vessel," Kurth said with his paws clasped behind his back. "Before we proceed, I wish you to brief me on the details of your previous assignment. It appears that I have not been updated on the matter." "My apologies, sir. I am not at liberty to discuss that particular venture. It is classified. I hope that is not why we were requested specifically." "That was an order, Captain," Kurth said, narrowing his eyes. "And my orders not to discuss it have come from someone higher than you." "I'm sorry, sir." "Unfortunate. I was hoping it would not come to this," the officer remarked, looking down in disappointment. "Sir?" Lizra said, stepping back cautiously. "Take the shot prior," the ensign ordered, and the recording froze, followed by the return of Zaid's voice. "We were misled by Ensign Kurth, and I do not know the current status of my crewmates. The last recorded moment you just witnessed took place seconds before you should receive this message. It is our fault that these events transpired. If we had been more vigilant, then we could have foreseen the attack, but we were too occupied attempting to analyze the other ship. We were unable to breach its systems in time until it was too late. We learned that the ship Ensign Kurth arrived and had departed from a core military outpost on the edges of their occupied space. We now believe that he has affiliations with our enemies and seeks to uncover the true scope of what we found in the original Illyrian system. If either Argal or Captain Lizra are still alive, then they will be taken into core custody soon and interrogated, or worse. We will be transmitting a similar message to our superiors on Illuris. However, it is unlikely they will allocate the resources for a recovery mission into hostile space. And due to political and military bureaucracy within the EV, Lizra and Argal will be within core territory long before such an endeavor could be underway. After weeks of deliberation between us, we have concluded that you are the only alternative that bears a high probability of success for the safe retrieval of our crewmates. We understand your unwillingness to complete tasks for others at this time, especially if those tasks may involve violence. However, you are the only option that they have left. We hope that you consider our request for aid. Embedded in this transmission are the coordinates of where Ensign Kurth's vessel set out from before arriving here. If they are brought beyond that outpost, then there will be no hope of their retrieval due to the failsafes within your ship that would prevent you from going further. At the conclusion of this message, we will terminate any perception alteration software and accept the inevitable. We apologize for the methods we used to handle our previous assignment regarding you, and any strain it may have caused for you and your partner. If you accept our request and ensure the safe return of our friends, then you may prove that our initial conclusions about you may have been wrong. Zaid paused as if the word itself was unfamiliar. Extant Unit Z8 of the Scifi signing off. Plot a course for those coordinates. Human said without hesitating. I do not suppose there is anything I can say that would convince you that this situation does not involve us. No, now do it. Human ordered. The feelings that he had tried to suppress up until now started to surface in his words. We do not owe them. Tic-tac started but was cut off. They saved us, we saved them. Then we're even and we'll be on our way. Now let's go. It would be reckless of us to charge in without a weapon at this time. We need a plan. We don't need one, I am one. We leave now and that's final. Very well. I will have to calculate a route which directs us around our unauthorized space. But even with that, we should be able to arrive at the location not long after them. Send it. Human instructed, and a second later he blacked out. Lizra POV. I'm giving you an opportunity to save yourself from a much worse alternative. Just tell me what I want to know, and things will be much easier for you, for me, my employer, your purple friend. What did you find that was so important that it had to be expunged from every networked of server? Do your worst. Anything's better than working with someone who's a traitor to their own species. Lizra retorted, glaring up at the Ensign through small slits cut into the metal of her tiny cage. You were in a position to take up a tactician spot for the Corps when you were growing up, correct? It seems that if it weren't for a single test score, then you would be in a very similar situation as myself right now. So do not act righteous now when you would have done the same thing then. That was a long time ago. I would never turn my tail on my people now. I don't care what you do with me, I won't be bought out like you. I don't think you realize just how bad things will get for you once you leave here. They have no intention of trying to bribe you, of that I am certain. You had the chance to save yourself from the worst of it, but that has since passed. Kurth explained, leaning over the restrained captain, peering through the bars in the small crate. I'll take my chances, thanks. So be it. It is not my place to interrogate you. I was merely assigned to bring you in, nothing more. Though I cannot say I didn't warn you. Consider your current conditions a pleasant calm before the storm. They will be here to retrieve you momentarily. Enjoy your stay. Kurth shut off the lights and closed the door, leaving Lizra alone in the dark, curled up in the cramped crate. Human POV. 10 minutes until arrival. We need to prepare. Tic-tac declared as Human opened his eyes and sat up in the chair. A small timer blinked at the top of his vision, showing the time until arrival. How long was I out? Human asked groggily. 6 hours. Thankfully, after a jump, I am able to wake you whenever necessary, but it was not needed until now. Good to know. Do you know what this outpost looks like? Building layout, troop estimates, defense capabilities. Negative, we are going in blind. Just like the old days, nothing new to me there. When we leave the slip, if I black out again, wake me as soon as you can. Try to disengage as close to the outpost as possible. We don't know the capabilities and don't want to get shot down the second we arrive. Noted, I'll lower the ramp the second we exit and have the rear of the ship oriented towards the facility. Are you confident in making a jump between the two while moving? Not a problem. Human said, looking down and checking off the last bits of gear that was still left on his armor. We'll need to refill NCs after this, only got a week left. One problem at a time, we need to get out of here alive, then we can worry about your nutrient canisters. I'll attempt to maneuver the ship out of the area with a short-range jump and return it when we are ready to depart. I will be splitting a portion of myself off to stay with the ship. He'll be needed to operate it while we're gone. Sure that's a good idea? Not good to split yourself up, bad habit to start again. I will be fine, I'm conducting a 90-10 split. Say hello to Tick 2. The ship's computer console shifted from blue to green before speaking aloud. Greetings, crew. Tick 2 operational, requesting full ship control. Granted, so we jump down, I find a door, then what? Human asked, leaning back in the pilot's chair. The networks will likely be contained, so once aboard we will need to find a physical interface in order for me to gain access. Tic-tac explained as the countdown in Human's visor steadily dropped. The duo spent the next few minutes conducting their final prep in silence as the timer reached 30 seconds. Ready for slip drop. Tic-tac notified. Human swiveled the chair around, leaning into their momentum, hoping to resist the effects of their quick exit, but to no avail. A second later he felt his body spike with adrenaline as he opened his eyes and jumped from the seat, running to the back of the aged striker. The ramp finished lowering just in time for him to launch himself out the back and towards the outpost outside. Tic-tac's positioning had been impeccable, only a couple hundred meters from the facility. Outside he saw a roughly spherical compound, floating untethered among the stars. The inky blackness all around confirmed there were no objects nearby for the base to orbit. The outpost sported 3 ports, only one in use, which connected a large modern cruiser roughly half the size of the station itself. Behind him, his ship quickly blinked back out of existence just as soon as it had come in, the entire ordeal taking less than a few seconds. After a few moments more of floating through the vacuum of space, he felt gravity take over and pull himself down onto the outpost. He rolled as he made contact with the round metal station, crouching down and scanning for an entryway. 30 meters, 10 o'clock, potential airlock, highlighting it now. Tic-tac said as a small orange blip appeared in that direction. Human bounded towards it, the lower gravity allowing him to reach it in only a few bounds. Once he reached his destination, he inspected the door for controls, soon finding a manual release lever. He made his way down the hallway to the opposite door and looked for another release, finding none. Giving up on his search, he reached down, digging his fingers into the metal and forced it open. A strong gust of air rushed past, equalizing the pressure of the hallway behind him. Excellent work, no alarms yet, however they will have noticed a drop in air pressure in this area. We need to get moving. As Tic-Tac finished speaking, a pair of Endurans rounded the corner, wearing different gear from the ones in Zaid's video. Unlike the white armor of the EV, these ones were covered in the same deep green as his ship, and a large contrast to their bright red and yellow skin. They looked up and saw him standing there at the end of the hallway. Initiating combat mode, stand by, Tic-Tac warned, and a second later Human's visor lit up with a frenzy of increased activity. The two soldiers at the end of the hallway were outlined in red, parts of their body exposed from armor glowing brightly to indicate vulnerable points. A green dotted path on the ground plotted the optimal course to his enemies. Tic-Tac's voice sounded in his head at lightning speed, faster than he would have been able to understand if it had been spoken. Each instruction from the computer lasting less than a second in real time. CQB preset selected. CSR-5 rifle, ballistic, ineffective. Enduring combatants, highlighting weak points, prioritize left. Oh shit, oh fuck, they said in unison as one of them quickly raised its rifle while the other quickly tried pulling an interface pad off of its chest harness. Human sprinted down the hallway towards them, covering the span of 10 meters in under a second. Before the first could get his rifle up, Human had it in one of his hands, shattering the barrel of the weapon. He grabbed one of the Enduran's wrists, target carpal joint, removed compatibilities, and twisted it, hearing the snap of bones and tearing of cartilage that followed. He pulled against the arm and turned, forcing the soldier against the side of the hallway. He brought up his other hand against the back of the Enduran's head and smashed it into the paneled wall. One immobilized, one remaining. Sidearm CSS-2 ballistic, ineffective. The second soldier reacted by dropping the pad and drawing a sidearm, hoping to be able to act in time. Human yanked the unconscious soldier from the wall, positioning him between himself and the other attacker. A few shots rang out, impacting the soldier's armor before Human threw him at the shooter. The pair tumbled to the ground as an alarm started to sound, the lights within the facility fluctuating between red and white. Human strode over to the conscious one and reached down, taking its face in hand and smashed it back down onto the floor. He picked up the interface pad as he stepped over the bodies, pulling a small cable off of Tic-Tac's pack. See if this has anything useful. Analyzing. Caution 3 approaching, 12 o'clock, left intersection, 15 meters. Human heard the footsteps and heavy breathing coming from the left. He ran forward and dropped down, sliding as the trio rounded the corner. Two Brunts and an Enduran jumped in surprise as he skidded up to them, too close to properly maneuver their weapons. Weak point tibio-talar joint, hinder mobility. Human locked his eyes on the glowing red ankles of the one nearest to him. He reached out and crushed the bones between his fingers and pivoted his body to kick the next one's ankles. His shin made contact with the creature and soft flesh gave way to solid metal as the soldier fell to the ground with a pained wail. The fallen Brunt lurched at his leg, its toothy maw open to bite down on his calf. He stood up, pulling the leg out from underneath the Brunt whose ankle he still held, sending him tumbling to the ground as well. The Brunt snapped its jaws around Human's leg and cried in pain as its teeth were shattered against the metal armor. He stomped down on its neck with one boot, and the creature's body fell limp, paralyzed. The uninjured Enduran lunged at him, attempting to shoulder charge him to the ground. With the full force of his hulking body behind the attack, he managed to knock Human back a step. Strike to the cranium, stun the occipital cortex, momentary blindness. Human reached up and grabbed the Enduran's shoulders and smashed his helmet against the alien's forehead. The crunch of bone was much louder than Human was expecting. When he pulled his head back, half of the Endurance face was caved in, nearly unrecognizable. The body fell backwards onto the ground lifeless, blood pooling onto the pristine white floor. Unlike the last time, there was no chemical reward for taking a life. The expected rush of euphoria and dopamine that his implant would inject never came. All that came was the fading sound of a beating heart and his own pulse beating in his head. 1 eliminated, 2 critical. Further action required to eliminate. Human looked back at the least injured brunt attempting to crawl away from him. He dismissed the creature and reached down to pick up one of the discarded rifles, checking the weapon in his hands. CSR-5 rifle, 55 round capacity, highlighting functions. Small instructions prompted above the various mechanisms of the weapon, instructing him how to use it. He turned back and continued down the hallway. The small green dotted line materialized in his vision to guide him through the facility. Interface scan complete. Command room, second left, 30 meters, double doors, reinforced. He reached the doors in question and kicked them open, leveling the rifle at the room. 7 heartbeats detected, highlighting targets. 3 brunts to his left yelped in surprise as he turned to face them. Avoiding armor, brachial artery exposed, 30-second bleed out. Human placed a pair of shots in the first one just on the outside of its frontal armor plates before moving to the next, shooting twice more. The last scrambled behind a bulky interface desk as the first 2 fell to the ground. 2 o'clock. 2 Endurance, CPR-1 rifles, lethal to undersuit, prioritized immediately, overriding. Human felt his suit tighten and turn him quickly in the direction of the threat before he could react on his own. The 2 had nearly responded in time before he put shots at the glowing red portions of their body. One of them managed to get a round off before being hit, the plasma shot impacting Human's front armor plate. The shooter fell back, succumbing to his wounds before he could get another volley. Single heartbeat, front right corner, 7 meters. Human saw a red dot materialize on the other side of the wall in the corner he couldn't see yet. He breached into the room and fired at the corner as he cleared the door. A small brunt was situated against the wall waiting for him to enter. The first shot impacted its armor plates, but the second pierced one of its eyes. He turned back left, towards the enemy that had ducked behind the desk, and quickly worked along the edge of the room towards an angle providing visibility. Human glanced down at the projected number floating next to the magazine, ensuring he had enough rounds left in the rifle. The soldier peeked out and fired before Human had fully pied the corner. He dropped to the ground, firing as the kinetic rounds impacted one of the gaps in his armor. They were repelled by his undersuit, the power percentage lowering by 1% in the corner of his visor. He returned fire from the floor and quickly dispatched the last remaining brunt. 6 eliminated, 1 remaining. Human stalked into the center of the room, scanning it for the final target. He listened, hearing shaky breaths and a rapid heartbeat coming from under a console in the back of the room. He slowly made his way up to the computer, recognizing the tiny heartbeat of an Illyrian. "Step out, now," Human instructed. The small form of Ensign Kurth emerged from behind the console with his paws in the air, tail twitching with fear. I don't understand the meaning of this, Wah. Where are they?" he asked coldly, rifle leveled at the small creature. Why are you doing this?" "We did," Kurth tried to ask but was cut off. "Lizra, Argal, tell me where they are." "Please, Jay, just calm down and we can discuss." "Where are they?" he yelled, dropping the rifle and grabbing the small creature, pinning him to console. He felt its fragile body tense in his grip, a familiar feeling, and he had to resist the urge to crush the Illyrian then and there. Combatant, behind, 10 meters, closing, Ovary. Before Tic-Tac could finish his warning, Human felt someone grab him under his shoulders. He was pulled back and thrown towards the front of the room, crashing into one of the interface consoles as he fell. Before he could pick himself up off the ground, he froze in place as the new attacker spoke in a familiar language. "Well, I'll be damned. Been a long time, Drill. You're supposed to be dead."